don't know why he would just this every single time. Oh my god. Okay. Is this as big as it was last time? Or is it just me? I think I might have... Oh well, that's fine. Oh god, I'm just talking to myself now. Right, let me get thingy up. And then we will begin. Alright, so we're officially live. What is everyone? Welcome to the chat. I thank everyone for coming, who is no one, but I'm doing this for myself, myself pleasure, because I want to, and yeah, I found that I'm a day late. I was meant to do this yesterday on Tuesday, but unfortunately some things came up. I'm actually going to put my controller there because the sound is a bit more through headphones. We listen, it's like in one ear or something. So yeah, episode 3. The reason I didn't do it yesterday was because I obviously listened to the podcast yesterday, and then I rewatched the episode, and then I was gonna do it, but then we had to go out for like the whole afternoon, so I couldn't do it then. So I decided, got my notes all done though, so I could talk about it, but then kind of officially do the live stream today. Yeah. So I knew coming into this episode that it was going to be about Bill and Frank, their story. I wasn't sure how much of Joel and Ellie we were going to have, but I was quite satisfied with the amount we got. I honestly thought that they'd been like the first like couple minutes and then not being any more, so I'm pleasantly surprised they were in quite a bit more of it. Yeah, I knew that it was going to be a gut punch. I think this is because I played the game. Obviously, I knew about Sarah's death in the first episode. I thought that while that half didn't have the most tension, this one is just heartbreaking and also heartwarming. And boy, I was a mess after watching that episode. I was a mess. I haven't watched many reactions purely because I found that the more I go through the series, I like reacting to things that you've seen it, like, yeah, that bit right there. But reacting to people be sad it's fine, but also like it's too much for me to handle if I watch reaction after reaction. That's what I do because I have time. But yeah, it was a sucker punch, but it was so well done. I mean, I wasn't one of the people who were majorly like, because obviously there's a division in the community right now. People who, because of the big deviations from the script, but as it was put in the podcast, the end means it's the same. It's just the journey that gets to that point in the story. So the basic part of the story is Joel and Ellie get to Bill's, and they get the car, which then they can get to Pittsburgh and to Tommy. But in this, we don't. The end is still the same. They still get there, but they find that Bill isn't there, and they just have the car battery, which have the power up, and then they go on their way. So it allowed the directors and the writers to really explore the relationship of Bill and Frank, which wasn't really explored that much in the game. It was purely Bill, because Bill was more of a mechanic in a way that he gives you all these things, the shotguns and the bombs, and then you go boating for the first time. It's a way in which to progress the story through gameplay and through dialogue speaking between Bill, Joel, and Ellie. But in this one, there wasn't much need for that, because we saw everything about. We've already actually. I feel that Joel and Ellie had a mini arc during this episode alone, so we got development with them and them coming together more as a group, more of a cohesion. And then we got to see Bill and how he interacts with other people and especially through Bill and Joel as well when they had the dinner party. So I mean, obviously some people are quite disappointed that they deviated from the script, which I can understand, but also this is one of the best episodes I've seen in a very long time. I mean, I've recently been watching Korean dramas. There are quite some good one of those. If you haven't checked out Netflix Korean dramas, I recommend Sweet Home and My Name. Absolute stunners, and hosted person in chat, by the way. They're amazing, but I feel that you get those shows are like they're sometimes a hit or miss, but this show has been on it every single episode. I mean, there's been something about each episode that I've gone, wow, right? For me, in the first episode, it was like the entire beginning. That was superbly done, like, you know. And the second episode, the end part, and also the introduction of the hive mind for the infected, which was amazing. And this episode, everything is perfect. Apart from one bit, which I will get to, which I have a slight issue with, but that's like minuscule in the grand scheme of the story that was told. Obviously, huge congratulations to Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett, I think his name is. I can't exactly remember, but as I was going through the episode, like, I didn't know Nick Offerman because he's apparently a comedian. I should probably search him up more before I need to do more research or whatever. But Murray was actually, he's in quite a few things I've watched. The most recognisable, he was in Tales of the City, and I was watching it, and I got to like the last 10 minutes of their story, and I was like, oh, holy shit, he's Mouse! And I yeah. So the directing for this episode was directed by Peter. I can't pronounce his last name, so I don't want to say whore. I think it might be Peter Whore, but it's not spelt like a whore. It's spelt like a bore, you know, if you get what I mean. So he obviously directed it, and I think I was listening to the podcast when they were casting. Craig Mason was trying to cast these characters. He felt that it was very important to get a middle-aged romance, because obviously with the representation of queerness in The Last of Us, it's very, you know, it doesn't bring attention to itself because it's just seen as natural, right? So they wanted to, when they were casting, they wanted to create an old love story, because we're going to see the love story of Ellie and Dina, because it's been renewed for season 2, which I was very happy about, and we'll see kind of the young dynamic there. But I feel that for Craig, he said it was very important to him to find actors who could play that middle-aged, getting older role, and the endurance of love throughout the episode. Obviously, because Murray Bartlett was, I think he was like someone they thought of like quite soon, but Nick Offerman got the job because someone else couldn't do it, and they wanted to cast a comedian because apparently, because you either get comedians playing like comedic roles or these really serious roles, because they can step away from that life and they completely immerse themselves in what they're doing. So Nick Offerman was able to just completely devote himself to Bill and his storyline, his arc. Unfortunately, some people, the rating is the lowest, purely because I think it's mainly due to the aspect of two gay men on screen. I obviously don't mind it. You know, it's not an issue, but unfortunately, when I was watching the episode, you do get some comments from the family, you know, because obviously some people aren't okay with it, and that's the way that life is, especially at this point in time. Unfortunately, it was a very nice viewing experience with someone like sitting next to you, just completely like, what is this bullshit? Like, you know, the worst thing is they didn't walk out of the room; they just sat there and just started commenting, and I was like, just go out of the room, please. So, yeah, I kind of understand why it's the lowest rated episode, mainly because of that. And also the deviation from the script, but yeah, I'll actually go through the episode scene by scene, because as usual, I have my notes as well. I've got loads of notes. We'll go through the entire episode, and we'll see what that gets us. So, obviously, there was no, like, beginning intro before the credits, so that was obviously my kind of indication that, oh shit, they're going to deviate a lot, because usually the deviations are, like, the backstory, but the backstory is the episode, so that was something I recognised. So the first scene we see is Joel piling stones by the riverbank, and it kind of looks like a bit from the game, like when they're going towards Jackson with the trees and then the river. But honestly, I feel that Joel and Ellie's storyline, they took time for them to build and to really focus on the impact that Tessa's death has on Joel and Ellie as well. Because in the game, Tess dies, you go through Tess dies, you hear the gunshots, you're going upstairs, and then you see a body, and then after that it's straight into gameplay in which you escape the Capitol building, into the subway, and then to build. And it's not really mentioned apart from when Bill mentions it a few times. Oh my god, I need to get water. No! Shit! Give me a minute. Oh man, I was so prepared for this stream. I was so prepared. Wait, where is my water? I don't know where it is. Fuck it. We'll go with that water. I can't bother to actually get some water. That's fine. Okay. Yes, I thought that especially the conversation, the first conversation we have is between Joel and Ellie. Basically, Ellie saying, "Hey, don't don't be mad at me, or don't blame me for this because you guys decided to do this on your own." When actually it's a blatant of Ellie saying she does feel guilty because whether she means it or not, the reason that they were even going after the QZ was for her, basically. So it's kind of a double standard that Ellie has, in which she has this more like standoffish attitude when actually she's feeling insecure. And I feel that just Pedro Pascal through his episode, the subtle acting that he does when Tess is mentioned is perfect, absolutely perfect. And then later on, they actually when they're walking, I like the questions that we do because Ellie talks a lot, and it's kind of just trying to break down Joel's barriers because ultimately she admires Joel. She admires Joel for protecting her, and Craig Mason was saying something about the primal instinct that a child has to want to be protected, and so she's looking up to him as this figure who can protect her from harm, and what she can learn from him. And slowly she does break down the barriers, and then we get Joel talking about both the aeroplane that we come across, and also about this the infection and how it mutated into probably a food source, which was then shipped around the world. And there was some mention of pancake mix as well from the beginning episode. That was very nice. We got any other thing? I'm just looking at my notes because I have one in like order of where they happened in the thing, and then the other one just like jumbled notes. So I got them. Yes. Okay. Then we have the stash, which honestly, I was a bit tense during that scene. Mainly because when Ellie went down into the basement, I mean seriously, I was starting to thought myself when she picked up the pads, the period pads. I was like, dude, what do women do for periods in the apocalypse? Because like we're going to be going back to like 1950s, in which you basically just had a rag in your underwear. It was just like a segment I was going, holy shit, there'd be no period pads whatsoever. So those period pads were fine. And also the kind of Ellie being a bit sadistic, like playing with the zombie by cutting its like head open, just seeing the fungus just like underneath the skin, like just about to pop out. And dude, I was so scared it was gonna jump out. Even though it was like crushed by rubble, you just have this innate fear of like, Ellie, what are you doing? Just get away from it. But it kind of shows her ruthlessness by her playing with it and then just, stabbing it. That was pretty epic, I must say. Yeah, it's like the majority of that of like their time together really was just the opening of them slowly getting to know each other, slowly talking, slowly, just like slightly being a bit more hospitable to each other, knowing that they're going to be on this journey for a while. So that was nice. And then we get to the opening of Bill's story. So apparently the first line that Bill says was not like in the script. Apparently what Craig Mason does is he usually puts how the characters are feeling in speech, and then when they're acting, they can just look at that and be like, right, this is what I'm saying in my head, so how does that come across in my expression, how I do a certain action. But Nick Offerman said, I'm going to say this line, and it's pretty fucking cool line, I must say. He's a lot more, you get to see his really like paranoid side, like he's like a prepper. I don't know what is he, conservative or Republican? I don't even know. I don't know American politics, so forgive me. But he's like, I hate military. I hate this like organized. I'm gonna live out here on my own. That was very nice to see. And also, I could have watched like so much more of him just like fortifying his base. Like just the little montage that we got was just superb. I really, I think everything about the storyline was done brilliantly, and that obviously goes praise to both the actors and also to the director and the writer for that, because it was absolutely amazing. What else we got? Also, it's kind of the simple pleasures that Bill has. The fact that his comedic side, as Nick Hoffman's a comedian, obviously comes through, just like in subtle ways. How he finds pleasure in watching these infected get like blown to pieces by his traps. I feel it's pretty funny. The fact that they actively stored cameras like next to his traps as well. That's just funny. And then we have the first meeting between Bill and Frank, which is. Every moment they're on screen together is great. I mean, they have great chemistry and great actors in their own right, so it was pretty amazing, actually. Just, I don't even know how to explain how happy I was to see them on screen together, because there's a lot, in the podcast I really dissected how each of them felt in a specific moment. I won't do that because you can just go watch the podcast if you want. But the main thought that I took away from this was, from especially their meeting, was you got to see the two contrasting personalities between Bill being this, like, you know, go on your way, like, I don't want anyone else coming here, you know. Any bums that you tell about my home, I'll just come looking. Oh, hello. Thank you. And then Frank, who's got this like really easygoing attitude. He didn't have a backpack with him or a gun. I was a bit concerned, but whatever, because he's probably just got away with his life. You always get to see the contrasts of them, and Frank being like, I could do something here. I could really turn this place around. Then we obviously have the first meal that they share together. Actually, if you watch the last meal that they had at the end of the episode, it's an exact replica. Even to in the first meal, Frank turned the plate, and then Bill turned the plate when they had their last meal. I thought that was pretty romantic, pretty sweet. And then we have The Long Long Time, who I now love that song. It has been going on repeat, as it should, because it is very... I love playing and like watching TV shows and then like getting the soundtrack from them. Like, we need to have, when the series is finished, the original soundtrack they have put in. Because obviously they've got music from you know, both Last of Us 1 and 2 in this game, but they've also got their own soundtracks where they've like mixed up, and I really want to see that. But apparently, when Frank's down, he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. But Murray's actually really good, and so I find it funny when people have to like downgrade their like ability to do a skill to like. I find it funny, but that scene was just so. Like I was also welling up because one, I knew that Frank was gonna die. Like I was certain that Frank was gonna die. I didn't know what way. I did see a picture of him before, because I obviously watched on the Monday night instead of the Sunday night. I did see a picture of Frank, and I was like, he looks ill. Has he been infected yet? But I was so glad that I was wrong. Yeah, just that scene made me want to cry. Because I knew that Frank died, and it was just so... Well, with Bill, it's kind of like him, first time I've ever seen him, like, you know, be a bit vulnerable. And then... I think everything up to that moment was so, like, well done and well acted that then the kiss doesn't feel jarring and out of place. And then the scene with them in the bed, which some people do not agree with or like, I must say, not me, but some people in this household. That scene didn't seem too jarring and so fast forward, and even though Frank does say, I'm not a whore, you know, if I do this, I'm gonna stay a couple of days, you know. So yeah. And then, from that very romantic era, we then suddenly transit into 3 years later. Is it 3 years later? It is 3 years later. To them having a fight. Because, while I've never been in a romantic relationship, I put my hands up now, when, you know, that I assume that romance doesn't last for, like, that sweet little, like, intense... I seriously just heard something, whatever, it's fine. That intense, like, romantic lasts for, like, a couple of years, and then you get into this, like, more domestic era, and one of those things is you fight. Obviously, it's over little things, like, you know, the street. Like, I want to, you know, Frank's going about, he wants to, you know, make it come more alive, and Bill's like, no. it just gives the two contrasting personalities of how you love someone. Someone who loves things externally, they show their love through doing things, through, you know, like fixing up shops or growing strawberries, something like that. Whereas Bill is more the person who keeps that love inside and is like, I'm going to protect you. That's my way of showing that I love you. It was a very nice contrast to see two different kinds of the way to love someone, which obviously it's interesting for me, someone who's ever been in a relationship, to see the different types of way you can do it, or way like two different people with two different kinds of love can still work together, which gives me hope for my future. Okay, gives me hope, but whatever. And then obviously at the end of the fight, Frank mentions he's been talking to a woman on the radio, which turns out to be Tess, and then we have the little garden party, which gives a bit of background on Joel and Tess's relationship, which adds more fuel to the fire to Joel's emotion and his hurt, you know, about Tess's death. And we obviously get to see the how both Bill and Joel and Tess and Frank, like, they just like mirror each other, and especially when they speak each other's language. So when Bill and Joel were alone, Joel was saying, you know, that fence isn't gonna last, you know, even though we don't particularly like each other or talk very much, we're gonna have to work together in order to keep the other one safe, you know, the one who needs protecting safe. Even though they're kind of the boss, you're the one who has to make sure they survive at the end of the day. And then I will never be able to think of Strawberries the Same, because that scene was so, like, the cinematography in that scene was beautiful. With them eating the strawberries and then the light, the sun, like, going down. It was like in between the trees, which they must have taken it like this. The director of photography must have been like, right, we need to just get this shot right now, otherwise, we're just not going to do a good job. And I love it. Especially when Bill says he wasn't afraid until Frank showed up. He wasn't afraid to lose his own life, but now he's got someone to protect, some purpose. He now becomes afraid, which is what everyone does, I suppose. It was just fantastic. Which then we contrast to the Raider attack, in which I do have a slight problem with this, and the only thing is, why is Bill in the middle of the street when he's doing this? He could have, because when John mentions it, he could have built like a watchtower, or like, he could have even just been behind the house for some cover. But, I don't know, maybe he wasn't thinking, and so was like, right, just like in protection, I've got to kill these people right here, right now, and the only way we could do it maybe was out in the open. But it does give me a slight little, like, you could have done that, you could have thought about it a bit more, but that's my only real query I have about the episode. But I think that needed to happen so that then Bill would get injured. Then we would have the situation of their relationship flipping, which then it's Bill being taken care of by Frank, and especially the idea of like him, if as he's lying on the table, Bill is constantly saying, "Call Joel," because he knows that if he dies, Frank needs someone to protect him, and that person would be Joel. Either Frank would go to the QZ, or they'd move in there to the like town they were in. And then the also thing is with it cutting or it fading from with Bill being injured to then a person in the wheelchair outside, you automatically think that it's Bill, and I was like, holy shit. But then I was like, is he like wheelchair bound? But then I realised it was Frank. And, like, I was in, like, kind of shock, because then I realised that they've really diverted, and I had an idea of what was going to happen at the end, because the directors didn't explicitly say what he had, what Frank had, but apparently it was something more like ALS or muscular sclerosis, which is like neurodegradation, which causes your nerves not to work, basically. I was thinking if it was motor neuron disease, but that usually happens in younger people when you're younger, because whatever. But yeah, I suddenly realised that they're gonna do this differently, because I was still like, the relationship up to that point, I was like, right, they're building a relationship, but then Frank's gonna get bit, and I was like, wait, no, he's gonna like commit suicide. Like that was my immediate thought. But it was only later when it clicked that they're both gonna die. Obviously it was quite sad, but also like just seeing it's sad to see anyone who was so capable in the last scene running laps around the town to then be so like reliant on a wheelchair to even get around their own house. I don't know, that concept is just sad to me, and especially in like when the person taking care of you isn't so young themselves. It makes me feel very sad. But that's just my personal opinion. Some people would have been like, oh, they just moved on with it. But I was like in a state of shock. Yeah, and then we get the last day, which is, I started crying at this point. I was like, ugh. As soon as he said it's my last day, I was like, alright, we're done. They're both dying. It's over. Over. I'm going to get upset even talking about it because it was so well done. And what I love about the show is there isn't a lot of like extra music. It's only there to, as things are happening in which there's no dialogue needed, or just a little like quiet, like just a few notes or something playing in the background. It's just, and there was no music hardly in this scene, in which basically Frank just said, well, this is what we're gonna do on our last day, and then I'm gonna die. I was sobbing because I'm a very emotional person when it comes to The Last of Us. And just like any TV show, like if someone dies, like I'll be sad. No offense, but animals dying is worse. If it ever becomes between a human dying or like an animal dying, I will cry more for the animal because they're innocent and whatever. But I can't tell you how much I loved this last 20 minutes. Because it just made me feel so many things. I thought that for me, I can sit there and I can watch an amazing battle sequence, and I love action. It is one of my favourite things to watch. But I'll be more entertained by a show that puts me on an emotional roller coaster. Because even though I'm quite like emotional personally, to like I feel quite a few things, but to feel so much emotion in that small amount of time is due to the amazing acting and writing, and I can't thank them enough. So when we go through the day, obviously they get married, which is beautiful, and then we come to the last meal, and I'd concluded by this point that like, they're both gonna die, because the way that the story had been built up for them being an item, instead of in the game where they have these huge fights and then with Frank trying to leave. I just was thinking that both, Bill's going to do something that either he's going to do it with him, or like maybe at the very end of the episode he's going to just go off and just sacrifice himself or something like that. But yeah, the last meal was like the parallel between the first meal and the last meal is it's beautiful. Even down to the wine and whatever. Like I think I stopped crying. I stopped crying at this point through the meal. I just stopped because I was just in awe of watching these two actors just perform. It was amazing to watch. And then when I love the fact that Frank doesn't criticize Bill for also taking pills, because when it was initially said that to Frank said to Bill, then you're gonna put pills in my bottle and then I'm gonna die. My mum was like, that's selfish. And honestly, I kind of understand that. But also, because I was sitting here watching it, and my mum said, "Oh, that's so selfish of him." And I was like, "Yeah, it is." But also, it's kind of not. I mean, obviously, taking your own life has always been associated with committing suicide. You're committing a crime against yourself, and some people find that to be dishonorable and to be selfish. But in this specific situation, I think it's a mercy. It's like assisted suicide, in which because they're in this dangerous world, if anything happens to him, then Bill's left without a purpose. As he says, he's fulfilled his purpose in life, which was to take care of Frank. And if Frank is going to go out, then so is Bill, because he's getting old too. And the famous line that was taken from this, which is, can I find it? Can't I find it? This isn't the tragic suicide this isn't the tragic suicide at the end of the story, which is a reference to a play which is about 1960s gay men and the trope of gay and LGBTQ characters being killed off in TV shows. The fact that because of writing constraints due to their arcs, or just it's like killing the black character off at the beginning of a horror movie. It's something that just has become more of a norm, but also it's kind of been trying to get out of that. And I think that this is just like this is talking about their characters and not just because of one part of them, the fact that they're both gay. Because the other two gay characters don't die. Hopefully, please do not kill Ellie or Dina. I'll be very sad. So yeah, the worst part about the entire thing was as they went to their room, Vanishing Grace started playing. Which, if you guys don't know what Vanishing Grace is the point in which there's two versions of Vanishing Grace. You have Vanishing Grace, and then you have Vanishing Grace Childhood. The childhood is played during the giraffe scene, and then Vanishing Grace is then played afterwards when they're walking through the abandoned QC in Salt Lake City. I burst into tears because I was like, you can't play that piece of music without someone getting emotional, and it was me. So, what did I put there? Yeah. So they die. I was weeping. I think if you did not weep, you're not weep throughout this episode. You are not human. Okay, you are not human. And then we get back to Joel and Ellie finding them, and I was very. I feel like, but I was crying throughout the entire episode. Like, I probably my tears dried up when they got in the car, but I was like not happy. The letter that Bill leaves is kind of a, it's kind of a, nail in the coffin for Joel, because basically the letter's basically just saying, I found a purpose in this world. You and I are the same. Our purpose is to protect others, and the fact that Joel has failed to protect two people that he's loved dearly, both Sarah and Tess. He now had a choice whether he completely abandons Ellie, or he takes one more risk, just like Bill did. And even though Bill is now dead, he ended up being, an amazing time he had with Frank. So I feel that then when we go into the free rules, basically it's just like, Joel's like, I'm gonna take this girl on, I'm gonna try and save her, because that's what Bill would have done in that sense of the word. We do get to see the first iteration of Ellie's new shirt, which is the same one as, it's like the sun thing, which is on the jet ski in Uncharted 1, which I was very happy to see, and also Joel's new look. It's very similar to what one he had on, but it's looking good. Looting, yeah. There's one thing that I was also like a bit of like, but also like, okay, I can see that, is Ellie finding a gun in, Bill's gun. I was a bit hesitant actually about that, because the main reason why Ellie gets a gun is because of the trust that Joel and Ellie have for each other, and that develops throughout Pittsburgh. And then there's a separation in the hotel, her killing a man to save Joel, and then her defending him when he goes down into the financial plaza. So then that trust has been built between them in terms of mechanics. Ellie's becoming a trustworthy companion, not only just throwing bottles, but also as a, someone who can actively aid you in killing someone in combat. I feel that's why they waited so long to give Ellie a gun. Maybe, I'm not sure how that's going to play out with Ellie now having a gun as they leave Bill's and go to Pittsburgh. Oh my god, my voice is so breaking. I apologize. It doesn't help that I've also been on a run this morning, and so like I've been breathing very hard. My lungs don't have capacity. Alright, so we have 2 more things to get through, which is the car, because there's still little details that basically that show that, you know, Ellie isn't from the world that we live in. The fact she doesn't know what a seatbelt is, and she's just, you know, she thinks that the car is a spaceship. That's just, you know, innocence in a form that we're gonna later not see, especially in the later episodes. Thank you, my dear Cannibal. And yeah, also having the long time play on the cassette tape is beautiful. Obviously, it's that song is gonna be, you know, just on my Spotify favorites. I'm just gonna play it all the time. And there's an interesting that shot, which was the open window, which we're looking at one right now, which is over there. It's weird how to like point at something and you just have to, I don't know. Apparently, they wanted, the directing team wanted to have like a window at the end of every episode, because it's kind of like the theme of The Last of Us is open windows. I mean, I want to see how it looks on the remastered version. Not remastered, the remake version of The Last of Us, because I'm still on my PS4, because I don't have money. I do have money. I could buy it, but I'm like, I have more important things. I have to get a car first and a job, and you know, I have to do shit before I get a PS5. It's low on my estimations, but yeah, the fact the use of Windows, I think. From my experience, I think they're kind of like a window into something. So you get to see two sides of something. Like it shows the hope of looking through the window to the outside, but also the fact that you're still on the inside of the window is you're stuck. You're looking out into something, but you're you know, you've got to get there first. The journey continues in a way. That's my interpretation of a window. I don't know how you meant to do that. Like, come on, mate. So yeah, and also it focuses out on that, and then it focuses on the wall in which we have a painting of Bill. That was very nice. And yeah, that's the end of the episode, really. I have to say, this is definitely my favourite so far. This is going to be one of those series in which I'm not going to be able to just watch scenes from. Like, I can watch scenes from like an action film, but I'm going to have to like properly rewatch the entire show once it comes out, which is good because my sister hasn't watched the show, and I will be watching it with her, so I'll be like binging like this. I'm probably going to see her like one of my episode 4 or 5, and then like at the end episode 9, and then I will just like completely binge it. That'll be very fun to see, because obviously I've had a lot of time to think about in these individual episodes, whereas my sister's going to be like just going through all of them. And I think it's better to have time to think. I mean, that's what happened when I played Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I was like, I'm just going to go away from this game, it's annoying me. And then it came back and I was like, actually, I can do this. I feel that having that time between episodes is a thing that is more, it's marketing obviously for HBO, because it's something that Netflix doesn't do. I mean, Netflix just puts an entire series out. Yeah, but they're starting to do more like 2-parters. So like they did it with Alchemy of Souls and The Glory. Those are both K-dramas, which I haven't watched Alchemy of Souls, but my sister has, and I'm watching The Glory. It's very good. It's about revenge and bullying, because bullying is very present in Eastern countries, which is very sad. But whatever. See, I feel that having this break, I want to be able to see the difference between watching them like individually and then watching them like binge watching them. But yeah, so that's the end of that explanation, really. Actually, before I do, I want to see the score that it now has on Last of Us Episode 3. I can't bloody spell. Alright, let's have a look. Where is it? Where is it, please? Let's have a look. Episode guide. Still got 9.3. That's a really high rating. Oh my god, it's gone down to an 8 out of 10. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Who does not like this episode? I am sorry. Oh my god, that's annoying, actually. It does really piss me off when people do it just because, not because of the story and the writing is rubbish, but because of something that they already knew. So the fact that they're deviating from the original plot, or the original, not the plot really, because the plot was this episode to get there. The story that's told in between, and also the fact that it's between two gay men. I feel that I don't fucking know, man. It annoys me to no end, and I don't know, just stop it. That's annoying to me right now, but hey, that's life, man. But yeah, that is going to be the end of the stream. I want to thank everyone for coming out here, for watching this, and everyone who's watching this as a video. Thank you for making it to the very end. I will now grab my controller because I need to switch the stream off. And yeah, it has been a very taxingly emotionally taxing episode. I'm now going to watch something very heart-lighted, which is, if you guys haven't watched Physical 100s on Netflix, it's basically about the strongest people in Korea fighting it out. It is absolutely amazing, and it's just cool. It's just a cool rewinder. I've now started to, after my streams, I'm going to go and watch that, because it comes out on the Tuesday, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So, thank you for everyone that has come out, and I will see you guys all in the next one.